Cool. Good morning, all, and thank you for joining in to Performance Scene's hosted webinar session on in-app tracking. Is this a missed opportunity in the affiliate channel, where we'll be discussing the opportunity of in-app tracking within the affiliate marketing industry and the value this could bring to advertisers and their affiliate programs. My name is Mustafa Mira, Senior Digital Journalist here at Performance Scene. We'll be moderating today's session and we'll be answering a series of questions to four fantastic panelists that we have with us from leading companies Awin, CJ Affiliate, Rakuten Advertising, and Trade Doubler, who will be answering our questions today and kind of sharing their thoughts on the opportunities and challenges surrounding in-app tracking within the affiliate channel. But also here's some interesting stats here estimated by Global Savings Group. So we have 7% of transactions in the affiliate channel can be attributed for app transactions. So if we look at that, for example, in the US market, where it's projected to be worth $6.8 billion, that is accounted for $450 million. So giving you an idea of the size of the opportunity that in-app transactions have. So today we hope we can kind of cover some questions of, is this a huge opportunity that's being missed in the channel? How can these sales be tracked effectively? And also, how can advertisers incorporate in-app tracking to their programs to their best abilities, and also how can the networks kind of support their clients on that also. As I said, so we've got four fantastic panelists with us today. Just running through left to right. So we have Clementine Lavender, Strategic Partnerships Manager and an in-app tracking specialist at Awin. We have Kate Knight, Director Publisher Development at CJ Affiliate. We have Raki Jogia, VP Publisher Partnerships International at Rakuten Advertising, and Arena Dan, Product Commercial Director at Trade Doubler. So thank you to the four of them for joining us today. So a couple of house styles quickly before I sort of kick off the session. As I mentioned, we're going to run this session to about 30-40 minutes. So we'll try to keep it concise but cover as much content and information for you guys as possible. And also we'll have 5-10 minutes at the end to answer a live Q&A. So if you'd like to submit questions, please do so in the chat box and we'll have the panelists send their questions, answer those questions for you as well. So before I go into the questions I have here today, just quickly, panelists wouldn't mind introducing themselves, starting with Clem.
Cool. So as Mustafa mentioned, I'm Clementine Lavender. I've been at Awin for about 4 years now. Worked in the UK territory in the publisher department, but I've recently moved over into the global strategy department, where I'm focusing on in-app tracking for Awin.
Yep, I'm Kate. I've been at CJ for 4 months. Pretty new recruit during the COVID crisis. Previously to that, I was a publisher for 8 years, worked at various different publishers. Interested to bring my my diplomatic take to this.
Cool.
Great. Hi everybody, good morning. I'm Raki from Rakuten. I am particularly passionate about mobile tracking because obviously it affects the entire ecosystem. So I'm really glad to be talking about this topic today.
Hello, I'm Irina. Thank you for inviting me to this session. I've been with Trade Doubler for less than 2 months, and before that I was a product, I was an app product specialist at Criteo and have been working with digital marketing industry for 12 years. And I'm really happy to be here.
Cool, great stuff. Thank you guys again for joining us this morning. So I'm going to start with the first question I have. So kind of with the continued year-on-year growth of mobile activity in app transactions with kind of some of the stats I've mentioned, why has it kind of taken the industry kind of until now to kind of see this opportunity? I'm going to start with Kate on this question.
I don't think it's taken till now for people to realise the opportunities there. I think they've always known it was there. I think everybody in the industry has been doing their bit to innovate, whether it's kind of diversifying their business proposition or networks exploring new ways in order to offer more in terms of reporting on data and transactions. I think it's a shared interest to ensure that mobile and app tracking is tracked and effectively, but this still very much sits with the brands to kind of decide whether it's for them. There's lots of intricacies in terms of cost and contracts involved, and like the the repercussions of then suddenly opening the door to more sales. Obviously, the benefits to, you know, when publishers win, networks win, we all win, advertisers win, but it's quite complex. So I wouldn't say that it's something that anybody has sat on and ignored. I think it's something that many of us have been working away on in the background, and maybe it's not always been visible, but it's definitely always been something that's been on the radar from a publisher perspective, and now from a network perspective at CJ.
Cool. Thanks for that, Kate. Clementine, what would your thoughts be on that?
I'd agree with Kate. I think that, you know, it's a really complex issue, and whilst it's not huge at the moment and there's not been massive adoption, it doesn't mean to say that it's taken us up until now to realise the opportunity that it holds. You know, the iPhone was released in 2007. So it was over a decade ago, but it was released without the App Store. That didn't come until the year after. So I think, you know, evolution and technology, it takes time, and mass adoption takes a lot of time. So I think it's a case of being patient.
Cool, that's great. Raki, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I definitely agree with a lot of what Clem and Kate are saying as well. I think also when it comes to adopting mobile tracking and cross-device tracking, it's a little bit difficult, because if you imagine how retailers are set up, everyone's got a unique setup within their own business, right? You've got bricks and mortar store, and then you've got your e-commerce business as well. And I think mobile often is a division, sometimes individual, outside of potentially your affiliate team or your search or your media team, knowing who to contact within the business. So if you're speaking to an affiliate contact on a day-to-day basis, but they also have to speak to a mobile provider, that's a little bit of a disconnect there. So we have to help, you know, raise that awareness and help clients get in contact with the right teams within their own internal organization. So potentially the way a retailer is set up, I think secondly, it may just be really scary in terms of, you know, SDK is a bit of a scary term, but at the end of the day, all we're trying to do is bring tracking, attribution, and measurement into the same space. So it's very relevant for what we do today if we think about what affiliate does and how we offer the same kind of tracking, measurement, and attribution in the space as well.
Cool, great stuff. Thanks, Raki. And Arena?
Yeah, so I agree with everybody that it's the industry has not waited until today for this opportunity. I remember 5 years ago, I was seeing some mobile measurement partners releasing deep linking schemes solutions for publishers to work and for advertisers to work with app affiliates. So I agree that it has not reached yet its potential. There's still a lot to do, which is an opportunity to look forward to.
Cool, fantastic. Thanks, guys. That was some really good insight there, and some good points too. Kind of looking at now, kind of the advertiser, and kind of, you know, seeing the true value and benefits of in-app tracking. Kind of what kind of benefits does this actually present to them? Yeah, I'm going to start with Clem on this one. So what are your thoughts?
Cool. So I apologise in advance because I think there's quite a lot of points to tick off in regards to answering this question. So I'll try and be as quick as I can. So the first thing I'll mention for advertisers is obviously the commercials. I don't think that it's any secret that in-app consumers have a much higher lifetime value. Advertisers that integrate with in-app tracking are seeing, you know, increases across all of their KPIs. Both Button and Criteo released studies, I think in 2019, that stated in-app AOV is 1.5 times higher than desktop and 2 times higher than mWeb. And in addition to that, consumers in-app look at 4 times more products than they would out of an app. So I think, you know, the commercial point of view is obviously a big topic. For AWIN specifically, an advertiser that integrated with in-app tracking, within 2 months, their program saw a 78% increase in conversion rate and almost 300% increase year on year for their AOV. So commercials is one big topic. The next is accuracy, which I briefly touched upon already. I think the industry is facing quite a lot of issues around browser privacy, ITP, ad blocking, things like that. Because app tracking uses server to server, it's not susceptible to these types of problems. And there's also the accuracy of the data itself. Right now, there's, for a lot of publishers, over 50% of their traffic is mobile. So that's a lot of app transactions in there. So if they're not integrated, advertisers aren't reporting on this. So they're having to, book in campaigns, not knowing truly who their top publishers are and how campaigns are actually working for them. So I think, having this data is going to enable them to have a much higher ROI, and hopefully with such a high ROI, they may well have more budget to spend in the space as well. And then also I think publishers are going to start to really prioritize advertisers that have in-app tracking integrated, which consequently for advertisers that don't, they may well be deprioritized when trying to book an exposure, which for peak periods like Black Friday, Cyber Monday, that could be really detrimental to an advertiser program. And then I think the last thing to mention is around the customers. Advertisers should want to make the customer journey as seamless as possible. So if a customer has an app installed, they should be able to continue their purchase journey via the app. It's a more localized environment, it saves their details, it encourages higher conversion rates. So advertisers should be doing whatever they can to encourage this journey. And it actually does go beyond digital as well. A study was released by J Mango that said that almost 50% of in-app users visit an advertiser's brick and mortar store a lot more frequently because of that increased brand awareness that the app brings to them. So yeah, I think all of those points. Cool.
That's some fantastic points there. Thanks, Clem. Raki, what would you say is sort of the true value and benefits for advertisers when it comes to in-app tracking and transactions?
Yeah, I'll definitely pull on some of the points that Clem just raised as well. I think starting with kind of consumer experience, I think that's, for me, the biggest thing that should be on the mind of any publisher or advertiser. Well, one of their key reasons to turn that on is to give a better experience to that consumer, right? So just let's use an example. You want them to have much more of a seamless shopping or browsing experience. I mean, just think about how many times you have to, log into a mobile site versus a mobile app. Where the mobile app has already saved your account details, your information, your delivery details. The ease and use and speed of which you can kind of convert on a mobile app is far greater than what you can do on a mobile optimized website. So from a consumer experience, the value is huge. And if you aren't putting customer at the heart of your strategy, then you're kind of missing a huge opportunity. But then also one of the second points was being able to measure this. I think it's really, really important to know what the value of these conversions look like. So we have an example of where 2 advertisers turned on app-to-app tracking in the past year. One fashion brand saw second half of their 2019 sales, so actually saw a daily average of sales increase by over 90% for Android devices. So that's data they haven't been able to access previous to getting the tracking in place. And in a second example, we saw a food advertiser turn on the same app tracking and saw a daily average of sales increase of 100% on iOS and Android devices. So these are just examples of why the value of tracking in-app is so huge.
Cool, great stuff. Thank you, Raki. Arena, would you agree with those 2 points?
Absolutely, and then also I would add that in the app environment, after the first 30 days, the retention rate is between 5 to 7%. So it's really important for advertisers to have in-app tracking and understand how and which each channel is driving sales the best and optimize their budgets. And as well, tracking in-app sales is a very good opportunity to be more client focused. So for instance, in the in the context of affiliate marketing, it is known that the reasons why people renew app usage or come back to an app is related to like 30% of them come back because of discount or coupon or exclusive bonus content, as well as people recommending it. So it's a very, it just totally makes sense to be where the users are and make better use of an app. And we know that advertisers actually invest a lot in having an app, and then it's just a natural course of events to continue to track the sales.
Cool, great stuff. Thanks, Serena. And Kate, would you agree with all the kind of points that's been discussed on this one?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I think Clem covered things off amazingly through various different touch points there. But yeah, I mean, I think looking at I can't remember where I got the stat from, but it's apparently 40% cheaper to acquire a customer through in-store through to sales through an app now than it was a year ago. And I think that's a really powerful message. I think additionally with the, not to touch on it, but the COVID and everything like that, where we're becoming more and more reliant on our devices and moving away from kind of those in-store retail experiences, and especially for the foreseeable at the moment, I think apps, really play a part in people's habits and daily habits. And I think that these are, we're becoming a lot more attached to our devices now, or on the go and at home and things like that. So I think now is more important than ever. But I think there's still a massive gap in education to advertisers, and I think the real sticking point that we've got is how do we educate our advertisers on the importance of tracking these sales, and without it being a detriment of saying, oh, you're going to have to suddenly pay out for more sales, because there's so much value that goes with tracking via app and mobile. I mean, I don't doubt that any of us that are on this call at networks hugely value data, and the data that comes in from tracking those sales that are currently being missed on a lot of occasions is huge, because it allows us to build out better strategies and better understand the consumers and really see the real true value in every transaction.
Cool, great stuff. Thanks, Kate. I know you just touched on education and data. We got a couple of questions for those. I'll pass on to you guys shortly. But yeah, this kind of brings into nicely to the third question. Kind of, you covered some good stats, all four of you, in the previous questions. Kind of, should in-app tracking, should it be a mandatory requirement when setting up an affiliate program for an advertiser? Starting with Clem on this one.
Yeah, I think absolutely it should be a mandatory requirement if the advertiser setup allows for such a thing. Some advertisers have apps but they don't really use them. They may have an app but not be integrated with an MMP. They may be integrated with an MMP that doesn't facilitate in-app tracking with affiliate networks like Firebase. So I think there are a lot of considerations that we need to really think about before we, as a network, come down quite forcefully and say this is a mandatory requirement. Having said that, it is part of AWIN's tracking policy that if an advertiser does have a functioning app, then they need to have in-app tracking implemented. But I think that until, as networks, we have solutions to every possible type of scenario that an advertiser could be in, it's quite naive to sort of stand here or sit here and say that it is something that is completely mandatory. As I said before, it's a very complex topic, and with any sort of complex topics, it takes a lot of education, and we have to sort of be patient and allow for change. And I think working collaboratively with all the other networks is a great way to sort of kickstart this.
Great stuff. Thank you, Clem. Raki, what are your thoughts on this one? Do you think it's a mandatory requirement for an affiliate program setup?
It's a little bit of a difficult question to answer. I mean, if you were to ask me, this is again just me answering this question, I would say yes, because at the end of the day, you have to think about your consumer. You have to think about the huge opportunity, understand what's happening in the market, understand what's happening with the climate at the moment. And, we've made some big strides to try and get more advertisers to think about that strategy, and also publishers as well. So for example, all new launches, we do advise mobile tracking as part of that launch. So hopefully as those opportunities come into the network, those are going to be launching. So that consumer experience is a lot more seamless across the board. For existing brands, all we can do is, as Clem and Kate mentioned, is help to educate those brands, raise an awareness of why it's important, what the data is telling us, what their own internal objectives and strategies should guide them in terms of where they should go. But professionally speaking, I think it should be mandatory.
Cool, great stuff. Thank you, Raki. Kate, what are your thoughts on this one?
A bit like you guys, I feel like the industry has evolved enough that advertisers, if they're coming into the affiliate space and they're a big enough player, then they probably have a good understanding of the requirements that are needed. However, it's not as simple as just being, you need to do this, and if you don't, then you can't. We all know it doesn't work like that. So back to Clem's point, I think you kind of have to look at it on a case-by-case basis. I mean, I would hate to think that every person that came and signed, every company that came and signed a network, we had to do a mobile integration with, when it maybe wasn't necessary. Maybe there were some brands, like Clemmy was saying, that maybe their app wasn't, functioning properly, or it wasn't, highly used or engaged with. And then, is there real value in it? But again, I think it's a case-by-case basis. And Raki, I'm totally with you. You draw the line and say, yeah, absolutely. When a brand joins the network, you do X, Y, Z. I mean, there are millions of things that we all could be doing better, or we all would like to do that we're maybe not doing. And there's ways in which we could definitely be optimizing our entire affiliate programs in new ways. But it's a lot of work. And I think tackling this mobile and in-app conversation is work in progress. So I think to turn around and say, yes, it's mandatory, would be very ill-educated at a kind of network level. But, what's right or wrong, it's hard to say.
Oh, great stuff. Thank you, Kate. And Irina, do you have anything to add?
I agree with everybody. I don't think it can be made mandatory, but we should rather think of it as a market standard for the apps that are in good shape and are transactional. And maybe think of all the things that we are missing when we don't do that. It's more expensive not to track in-app transactions and not be able to understand the user journey, how the performance is by channel, and in the end we lose more by not doing that. So I think wherever it's possible and it makes sense, it should be prioritized.
Cool, great stuff. Thank you. That was some more good answers there, and some really interesting perspectives. So that's really good. And kind of sort of tied in, kind of next question, I think, so I'll follow up. So if so, so this is kind of looking at you guys from a network perspective in your companies. I think some of you might have already touched on this already, but how are you guys kind of supporting brands to kind of track in-app sales? So yeah, so kind of looking at AWIN's perspective, Clem.
Cool. So I think the first thing to mention here is that we have the dedicated role. So this role was introduced in June, and I've been working in it, just sort of over 1 month. And the point of the role is to sort of tackle all of the issues surrounding in-app tracking and trying to get as much traction as possible as a network. To establish relationships with all of the MMPs, to strengthen the relationships that we already have with some of the MMPs. In addition to the role, we've got module integrations with a few MMPs, so with Adjust, Branch and AppsFlyer. Reason being, we realized that having our own SDK wasn't getting enough traction with advertisers. It was a bit too difficult to have them integrate with it. And we realized if they're already integrated with an MMP, maybe it makes it a little bit easier for the advertisers for us to just work with them, an existing partner. So, hopefully getting as many module integrations as we can to facilitate it for all of our advertisers. And then in addition to that, I'd say we've got quite intuitive reporting when it comes to in-app tracking. It can be filtered out via our UI. It can be obtained via our publisher and advertiser API. Also, we can do custom reportings upon request. And I think, you know, just as a sort of show of all the things that we're providing for advertisers, we have got some really great brands that have integrated, like Etsy, ASOS, Boohoo, Just Eat, and many, many more. And I think the year-on-year growth of programs that are integrating with it is really great to see, and hopefully we'll continue to see that growth.
Great stuff. Thank you, Clem. Sort of, yeah, kind of CJ now. So yeah, so Kate, how is kind of CJ supporting brands when it comes to in-app tracking sales?
So we're coming quite heavy in the education piece at the moment. Obviously, from our US counterparts, so we've got a large team out there that are doing a lot of kind of testing with various different partners at the moment. Like we've touched on before, we're not, CJ aren't claiming to be, you know, the well, no network. You know, we all need extra resource and third parties to kind of help facilitate this function. So we're going through the process of working with some of our big partners in the US, and to run some tests and work out what is the best solution for us. We, you know, the bringing new clients to the network at the moment, we're trying to explore how we can kind of instill this kind of mentality in them from the get-go. And, you know, these are not just limited to app tracking, but this is what you need. This is what should be in place, and making sure that when they launch a program on the network, they've got everything they need to be successful, because we've got publishers that are crying out to have more sales tracks. And I know that, you know, we've all touched on it previously about ITP and things like that. We really need to make sure that, and it is our responsibility, that we are tracking these sales, and that we are providing our publishers with the revenue that they deserve to be rewarded in, and in turn we can grow the advertisers program. So from a CJ perspective, we're super excited to be able to be going down this route and exploring even more mobile app tracking opportunities and partnerships. So yeah, I think this is a huge opportunity, and I think I can't remember who touched on it before, but talking about how networks kind of come together, I think, you know, a lot of the work that I did on the publisher board prior to me joining CJ was kind of imperative to ensure that we are opening up these lines of communication, because we should all really be on some kind of same standard level when it comes to the way we track mobile and the way we report and the services that we provide.
Cool, fantastic. Thanks, Kate. Yeah, kind of looking at Rakuten advertising. So yeah, Raki, what sort of strategies are you guys doing to kind of support brands in this with this mechanic?
Yeah, it's a lot about the education, but then also giving and offering that technical support as well. So we also provide tracking across some of the industry's standard SDKs. We partner with something like 6 or 7 industry SDKs, which allow for tracking across installs, clicks, conversion as well. We at Rakuten also are developing our own SDK, so just allowing for much more detailed tracking as well. But really, it's at the options are available for the advertisers. I think that's what we really want to make sure they understand. It's easier than they actually think. There are plenty of ways in which they can integrate. It's just about understanding or having the conversation, understanding what they're doing today, and how we can help them to turn on some of that measurement and attribution within their own business. So yeah, we offer a lot of that kind of hand holding and that support that they require when they want to integrate as well.
Cool, brilliant. Thank you, Raki. And Arena, kind of yeah, sharing your thoughts on what sort of Tradedoubler are doing to kind of support brands when it comes to in-app tracking.
At Tradedoubler, we're focusing on 3 pillars to support advertisers. The first one is integration with mobile measurement partners. We noticed that almost all of our clients are already integrated with major MMPs, so facilitating that integration. Then also making sure that we have a rich network of affiliates that can support app publishing, be them either both on web and app, or pure players. So it's really important to have a variety of publishers. And then also, I think it's really important to have a good technical support. This can be quite complex at times, and some of our advertisers really appreciate the expertise we have in our company to have a smooth integration and launch these programs.
Cool, great stuff. No, thank you, Irina. Thanks all for that. Yeah, so I've just got a couple more questions. So I know Kate touched on the data part, so I've got a question around the data side of things. So does it play a huge role when it comes to in-app tracking? How can we ensure that the tracking is accurate? So yeah, Kate, you got any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I'll expand on some of the stuff I mentioned earlier. But I mean, that should be the reason. That should be the ultimate reason why we track mobile, because we're a performance channel, and we should be everything we should be doing should be built around performance. And if we aren't seeing a percentage of that performance, whatever the truth of that looks like, then we're not really reporting on how a program's performing. We're also not given a true view of like where publishers can add value. So when you really look at the value in individual publishers, I imagine we could probably diversify our programs quite a lot if we could introduce mobile tracking, and move reliance away from partners, and disperse that revenue across new players. But while that doesn't exist, we're kind of limited. So I think it plays a massive part. I think it's key in the evolution of the strategy. And I think if we get to this point next year where we're still having the same conversation, I think it'll end up turning into the age-old attribution conversation, right? And it'll just be going round and round in circles. So I'm hoping that the data is enough of an opportunity for advertisers to realize. And I think especially because of the COVID and everything going online more so, I think that those mobile stats are only going to grow. So yeah, I mean, it's something that we're focusing on very heavily at CJ, and we're speaking to our clients and trying to offer the insights and share the learnings that we've got, and hope that they bite and they take the time and internally with their teams to look at the integration and the resource that's required to really embrace this as an opportunity.
Cool, great stuff. Thank you, Kate. Irina, would you agree? Does data play kind of a huge part in this?
Sure, and also I think we're in a much better place now than we were in the past, because leading MMPs offer quite accurate tracking methods. So now advertisers have actually a lot of data points to learn from and use in their optimization. So now more than ever, it's a very good time to use data in our advantage to make the business more efficient.
Great stuff. Thanks, Irina. Raki, would you agree with those points?
Yeah, absolutely. I think everything we've done over the last kind of few years in this industry is led by data and measurement and attribution, right? I think ultimately you have to test and learn. Once you're in that space, then the data is really going to be able to tell you that story. But it's not really getting a data view from one angle, which is essentially the network data. It's about understanding what's happening within your own business in terms of measuring lifetime value as well, consumer loyalty, newly engaged users. I mean, these are very important KPIs that advertisers mention on a daily basis. It's just making sure you have a holistic view of that data and understand what that performance looks like.
Cool, great stuff. Thank you, Raki. And Clementine, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with everything that everyone here has just said. I think in this day and age, I can't really think of a situation regarding advertising whereby data wouldn't play a huge role. It's a massive commodity at the moment. I think it always will be moving forward. So, especially being a performance-led channel, it seems completely outrageous that advertisers will sort of go on by and knowingly not tracking a large proportion of their sales. As I mentioned before, incorporating in-app tracking is going to sort of open up the accuracy of their program tracking and enable them to really see the true value of all of their publishers and a more holistic view of their customer journeys as well. And in terms of accuracy, I also touched on this before, you know, it utilizes server to server, so it's not susceptible to a lot of the issues that the rest of the industry is facing with browser problems.
Cool, great stuff. Thank you, Clem. Yeah, and that kind of rounds up to the last question I have here. So I guess it kind of touches on the education part, which we mentioned earlier. Is kind of given what we've discussed kind of today with these questions, should there kind of be more, I guess, should we say education, awareness, and scope into in-app tracking for the affiliate channel, so that brands don't really miss out on this opportunity? I'm gonna start with Raki on this one. What would you say?
Yeah, I think for me, I think this question probably needs to be elevated a little bit in the sense that we really need to take a bit of pause and look at what's happening at the moment in the world and the climate we're in today. Unfortunately, with COVID, it really has kind of changed the way people behave and where they spend their time today. I mean, firstly, I would say, you know, worldwide smartphone mobile usage has kind of increased 70% globally. That's huge. I mean, that's a huge increase. And unfortunately, what's happening is that that's also seeing a decline in bricks and mortar store. So we have this big opportunity right now to make sure you're connecting with consumers. And the first place they're going to be is really on their mobile and desktops in their homes. So if you're not thinking about that as strategy, you know, that's where the awareness needs to start, is really where is your consumer spending their time? I think secondly, we also have to realize that technology is advancing. I mean, 5G is coming. 5G alone is going to increase the consumption of mobile, and just the speed and accessibility through 5G should present a lot of opportunity, not only for publishers, but also advertisers as well. So for me, you know, the industry, the market, the climate is changing really, really fast. And if you're not really thinking about those things, you kind of get left behind a little bit. So for me, it's really looking at that first and then looking at your own internal strategy.
Cool, great stuff. Thank you, Raki. Irina, what would your thoughts be on the kind of the awareness and kind of education side of in-app tracking in the channel?
Yeah, so this topic has definitely been picking up recently, but could use a little bit more awareness in the sense of really understanding that it is a win-win situation to have better relationships, better partnerships with affiliates, better learnings from your own data as an advertiser, and we should focus very much on the benefits of doing it. To speed up the adoption of app affiliate marketing.
Cool, great stuff. And Clem, what would your thoughts be on that one?
Yeah, so I think that with any topic that is this complex, there's always going to be a lot more that people can learn. And I think that's why it's so important for us to do things like we've done today, come together and educate. But in addition to that, I would say that even the IAB and Performance In have a part to play in really simplifying it. An example being that, you know, we should really encourage MMPs to have more of a part in events within our industry. I think, you know, award ceremonies, there should be awards for in-app based campaigns. Apologies if this already exists, but I don't think it does. I think, you know, just by having awards like that, it's going to really open the eyes of everyone else in the room within the industry to just how important in-app tracking is, and make it a little bit more at the forefront of people's minds. And yeah, and I think also as networks, we can work together to try and sort of simplify it. I think for publishers, it's quite difficult in regards to transparency, understanding which advertisers do it, the difference around attribution windows, around commission groups. So yeah, I think that between all of us, there's definitely a job to be done to simplify.
Thank you, Clem. That was some good points there for sure. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with what you just said there, so that's good. And then lastly, Kate, yeah, as you mentioned education earlier, do you have any points to kind of expand on that?
I mean, pretty much covered everything here, but just to kind of go back to some of the points that we just mentioned in terms of where we educate people. If we don't, like Raki said, the 70% of people are using devices now, an increase. So if we don't figure this out, when do we then not have to track sales? Because as a network, our job is to track sales. And if the percentage of sales that are moving to mobile and app are growing, we are just doing ourselves a disservice in terms of as a business. So we have to solve the problem. So there's an education that we owe ourselves about the importance of ensuring that we are pushing mobile first and app tracking as a priority when we pitch to clients and we bring new brands to the network. And from that point of bringing a client on, we make sure we stress the importance. But we also, as an industry, owe it to be fair to each other, that we don't use this as a tactic for we have to align as an industry and as networks, that we are going to work from an approach that is fair, because it's very hard to, we touched on this earlier, it's very hard to tell brands why they need to do something without there being a result of not doing it. And the result of not doing it is as a network not being able to do what it's there to do, which is deliver and track sales to publishers, and somebody has to hold themselves accountable at some point.
Cool, great stuff. Thank you, Case. No, that's some really good points there. Yeah, which I agree as well. So that's really good. Actually, tell you what, all those points that you said at the end, actually, from you guys, that was really good. And no, thank you for kind of answering the questions I had here to kind of discuss in-app tracking in the affiliate channel. And I think there's a lot of broad perspectives in terms of the opportunities and the challenges as well, which is great. So no, thank you guys for sharing your thoughts and your insights into that and providing your expertise as well. I have seen some questions come through, so I'm just going to end the screen share so we can kind of go into these. So kind of going into some of the questions we've got on screen here. Right, so the first question we've got from Paris Loach. So we got, so he asked, what do you recommend a brand new loyalty publisher launching in September be sure to do or think about on this topic? So yeah, would anyone like to pick this one up?
I can. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think the most important thing when you launch a new brand is to really understand the partners you want to work with, so that you target users that are within your niche, your audience, your industry. So this is my recommendation is to make sure that you focus on building the right relationship that can bring you more users, more awareness, that can promote your app within all the digital channels. My top recommendation.
Cool, great stuff. Do you guys have anything else to add to that question?
Yeah, I'd be happy to add. Hi, Paris. I think this is Paris. I know Paris. So I think it's really just about, if you're a brand new loyalty publisher in the space, you'll be able to kind of work with all the networks to understand their retailer base and absolutely connect with what makes sense for your consumer base. So where I would probably start is just understanding a little bit about your value proposition, what sectors are really important for you, what your launch plan looks like, how you want to integrate with those networks. So essentially treating it as a brand new launch is my advice. But I think as a part of that strategy is also understanding where your consumers are going to be spending their time. So whether that's going to be desktop or mobile in terms of strategy, and that will also then guide a lot of the conversations the networks are able to have internally with their teams.
Cool, great stuff. I'll probably just jump on the next question here. So I thought this was a good one down here. So in terms of in-app tracking, is this just for retail partners, or will all sectors kind of benefit from this from this opportunity? So for example, could it help kind of travel affiliates post-COVID? Who would like to pick this one up?
I'll speak on it. I mean, from a network that is very travel heavy, we would hope that we benefit from this, and I think that we will. I think that, I mean, you've got a device in your hand. Anytime you've got a device in your hand looking for anything, this is going to benefit. And I think travel brands are definitely going to change the way in which they work. So I think it's going to be an exciting year to see how some of these retailers that maybe we don't think are as app or mobile suited will adapt to the way that their businesses market themselves, and in turn the new networks and publishers will win off of the back of it. You know, I think it's going to be a really exciting Q1 next year to see how all these different travel strategies kind of come out, and I really hope that mobile plays a big part in that. Absolutely. I think there's going to be, there's an opportunity to develop a lot of loyalty through travel as well. So I think in many ways they are a great candidate for this. I don't know if other people have thoughts on there, but I thought I'd just jump in from the travel perspective.
Yeah, I'd be happy to add to that. I think, you know, as a network, as retail, luxury, bricks and mortars as well, we're seeing an emergence of a lot of different verticals come through, right? Food delivery services, FMCGs growing, entertainment, DIY, anything that requires that discovery element as well as the browsing journey is going to benefit from mobile strategy. It's exactly as Kate said, a lot of retailers are rethinking their strategy and go, how can I connect better to those consumers, especially if they're spending more time on their desktops and their mobiles now. I think any sector can really benefit from it. It just probably takes a little bit more creative thinking in terms of the goods and services you offer.
Oh, great stuff. Thanks for that, Raki. I'm going to pick another question. So, okay, this is quite an interesting one. So with in-app tracking coming in, do you think this will open a door for performance marketing agencies or partner with business models which currently do not fit? Would anyone like to pick this one up? Oh, hello?
I feel like the previous maybe question answered a lot of this. I don't think anything's off the table in my opinion. I think it's I think the opportunity's out there for people to come in and innovate. And I think if you look at how many businesses have, not all, but some businesses have almost gone to reset, right? It's kind of an opportunity to innovate and develop and step outside of what you've normally done. And I think, as Raki said, you know, businesses are going to be changing the way they were doing things before. So, I mean, in terms of does performance marketing agencies partnering with new business models currently fit in? Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's a free for all now. I think, you know, this is a bit of a land grab in terms of innovation.
Great stuff. I've just got a question in from Carla Stevens that's come in. So Raki and Clementine, thank you for sharing the uplift that advertisers have seen after switching on app tracking. Did advertisers report if this was an uplift above the app sales which had previously been untracked or similar sales volume but now commissioned? So yeah, Clem and Raki, do you have your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I'm happy to dive in. So yes, when we did the test over a 3 to 5 month period, we compared the organic in-app conversions versus what the channel was driving. So some metrics we compared was conversion rate, ARV, and actually post-conversion, we also looked at lifetime value as well. So when we compared the organic versus the publisher value, we actually saw all 3 metrics were up against organic in-app sales. So that really goes to show that once you have the tracking available and you're able to do that, you know, accurate measurement piece, the true value in what it's able to drive. I think also off the back of that, what that publisher was really able to do is offer better packages and really look at further optimization. So it's now really become much more of an always on campaign. And that's how we can really try and connect the 2 sides of the house.
So in regards to the stats that I mentioned for the advertiser uplifts we saw as a network, this was based specifically on the performance that we can see within the A1 UI. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to compare this to app-based performance outside of the affiliate space because we didn't have that type of insight. But I think, you know, we can really sort of see the incrementality of these increases of these in-app integrations, because when I'm looking at program-wide statistics, the mobile web-based KPIs, they didn't decrease as in-app sales started to come in, the increases were seen across the entire program. It just so happens that organic increase sort of improved tenfold after the integration of in-app tracking. So, I saw on another advertiser, it was averaging like 7% increase month on month, and this was an average of about 3 months prior to in-app tracking was integrated onto the program. And after that, the increase jumped up to an average of, I think it was 47%, and that was just within 3 months of integrating. So I think that kind of goes to show that it is incremental growth just through integrating in-app tracking onto the program.
I would just add really quick, one point we haven't kind of raised is I know we kind of look at the lens of mobile tracking from European or US based, but when we look at markets like Asia, mobile is huge. It's almost 80–90% of where consumers live. So if you're trying to optimize performance in markets like China, Korea, or even APAC markets, it's a mobile first strategy. Desktop does not really even exist in some of those regions. So again, another consideration if you're a cross-border client or publisher.
Great stuff. Just got a couple more questions here. So quite interesting. So with iOS 14 sort of latest update, will those changes impact in-app tracking?
Cool, I can jump in here. So yeah, the WWDC 20, Apple released their visions for iOS 14 that will come into play in September. So this was announced a few weeks ago at the end of June, and they've basically said, for those of you that don't know, that for in-app tracking, a lot of MMPs use the IDFA, which is the identifier for advertisers, to enable the tracking to take place at a granular level. Consumers will now have to give their consent to have that IDFA actually tracked and used. And in addition to this, on the App Store, when you download an app, the advertiser has to sort of give an outline as to what type of data is going to be collected. So I think that there was quite a lot of uproar after this announcement, but from an affiliate point of view, I think these issues that may well arise from this announcement are based on installs rather than transactions. And I think that the majority of campaigns I've seen with in-app tracking with AWIN have been focused more so on in-app based transactions rather than installs. So I don't think that it's going to impact us too much. But having said that, I also think that although the consent box that's coming up is going to be sort of unified and you have to use Apple's one, I think they've also said that developers can have their own messages pop up prior to the main Apple message that asks for consent. So I think, more and more people today, consumers, understand the benefit of tracking. And I think especially with apps, I don't know many people that tend to pay to download an app. So I think if we sort of educate, whilst we're, educating everyone else within the industry, I think it goes further than that. We have to educate the consumer so that they understand that, we're not just tracking them for the fun of it, but us tracking them, the ads that they're served, enables them to utilize apps without having to pay. And I think when they can sort of understand the difference and what the tracking is really used for, I don't think that, and I hope it won't be quite as impactful as people initially thought.
Oh, great stuff. Thanks, Clem. Couple more questions I have. So yeah, I thought this was an interesting one. So how do we measure what proportion of growth as a result of in-app tracking turned on is incremental? Yeah, would anyone like to answer that question?
Well, there are a couple of incrementality testing possibilities. I think the easiest one is have a campaign on, then switch it off, and you can see how the results change. If they don't change, maybe the campaign was not well set up, or yeah. And then, of course, there are other ways to test incrementality, like trying a PCA, like public service announcement, or trying to do other other methodologies that become more and more complex. I think it's quite complicated to discuss them in a few minutes. But with affiliate marketing, the advantage of advertisers is that they only pay when they get results. So it's definitely a lot easier to see the incrementality of a campaign than with other channels where they pay for CPM or for CPC.
I think it's also just saying, like, we're talking about incrementality, but in fact, without tracking mobile users, do we really know how much value they hold? And we can talk about incrementality till the cows come home, as we often do, but the reality is that we should be looking at way more looking at the lifetime value of customers and like what the lifetime value, if someone's going through the effort of downloading an app, I'm pretty guaranteed that the lifetime value of that user is going to be a lot higher because they've gone through the effort of downloading that app. And once you're on that phone, you're able to continue to retarget. You've got a whole new pool of users that you can be a lot more targeted to in the way that you send them promotions or offers or whatever it is. So while we absolutely have touched on the incrementality side, like the real value is a lot bigger than incremental sales, however you place incrementality.
Oh, fantastic, thank you, Kate. And I've just got one more question to kind of wrap things up. Yeah, so I guess apologies if we already touched on this before. So we had this question from our founder Matthew Wood. It's kind of looking at is it we touched on the kind of the awareness and education side. So is it kind of assuming kind of say the assuming the networks and agencies, has there been enough done to kind of ensure in-app tracking is integrated for advertisers to utilize, or is there kind of insurmountable challenges around this? So yeah, I think probably some of this has already been touched, but kind of opening this question out there. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I can touch on this. So, I mean, as I said during the webinar, I think with any complex topic, there's always more that you can do. And what I've found, I've not been in my role too long, but with the few integrations that I have had some insight into, they're all very nuanced and all of them do seem to have slight differences to the one before them. So I think that it's one of those things where, because it is a complex integration and it is slightly different for each advertiser and each MMP, we have to learn as we go. And as a network, I think we just have to do our best to educate as much as possible, create case studies, do webinars, and then sort of have some sort of a standard practice whereby there is a decent amount of transparency for the publishers so that they have a full understanding as well. But that is why we introduced the role, so that for the advertisers that are struggling to find the content to educate themselves, they can just get in touch with us and we can talk them through it and handhold. And it is done on a case-by-case basis, but for now that is okay, because we appreciate that it is very difficult, because I think it was Raki that mentioned earlier, we're having to discuss in-app tracking for affiliates, usually with dev teams on the advertiser side that may well have no idea what affiliate marketing even is, and also the affiliate team don't really have too much of an idea of how in-app tracking works. I think marrying up different teams to discuss this topic, it is going to take time, and I think it's just a case of being patient.
Well, thank you, Clem. Raki, what were your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I think I'd probably just close off on kind of 2 points. I think we haven't done enough. I think we are at a very unique opportunity in time at the moment with what's going on in the world. Consumers are increasingly more mobile and desktop. 5G is coming, and unfortunately, with a recession that is hitting us around the world, we are uniquely placed to be able to kind of bring this opportunity to our advertisers and publishers and really connect the dots. So we're firmly in the middle of it at the moment. So that's the first point. I think the second point I would probably close on is that this group here, we're very aligned that this is benefiting the industry. This is not benefiting one network. we have so much experience and expertise on this call here that have talked at length today about how we can support brands and publishers and really connecting the dots. If you aren't reaching out to your advertiser teams at a network, I would do that tomorrow. You know, get on a call, get your teams connected, get the information you need, because it's not just looking at affiliates, really looking at your own strategy internally. And, you know, at the end of the day, we act as consultants, so leverage us to do that. And similarly on the publisher side, if we can help you connect your opportunities to advertisers and really push for that, I think now is the time to kind of do that too. So I kind of just close on those points.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you, Raki. Kate, what are your thoughts?
I just agree with everything that's been said. Like, just to kind of reiterate Raki with her closing off, like, we as networks can do everything we possibly can in our ability to be able to facilitate these conversations and to make things happen. But I think we need some people to step outside of their comfort zone and come to us and say, you know, I don't know about this. I do need to know more. I hold my hands up and I haven't really spent the time that I need to spend on looking at this as an avenue to explore. So yeah, you know, we're all here in our independent networks to kind of help grow the channel, and when the channel grows and succeeds, we all win. It's, you know, it's come a long way in the time I've been in the industry, and you know, there's always a new fire that we're all fighting, and the reality is we're often fighting the same fire. We're just not kind of coming together as much as we probably can do. So yeah, in terms of next steps, definitely, you know, reach out to your network and your advertisers, your account managers, and just have those conversations and educate yourself, because like I said, I think if we're here this time next year having the same conversations and people still feel like they don't have the right information, it'll be a real shame. Cool.
Thank you, Kate. Great stuff. And lastly, Irina.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of positive changes happening now in the clients' organizations as well as in our organizations. Historically, I've seen a lot of separate mobile marketing departments within the clients' organizations, which made it difficult for the teams to have a common goal, or they were just treating mobile marketing as a separate department. Now there's a clearer understanding that app and mobile is just one part of the user journey, and we need to see it as a whole, and everybody needs to kind of game up in terms of their knowledge. And yes, it continues to be complex, also because there are more players in the app marketing industry. We have the app stores, we have the MMPs on top of publishers and advertisers and networks. So yeah, overall everybody is putting efforts to have a better and holistic understanding of the ecosystem and work together to achieve common goals for their businesses.
Cool, great stuff. Thank you, Irina. And yeah, thank you all to our panelists. I think that kind of closes things up quite nicely. So no, again, thank you for everyone for tuning in this morning to our panel session. And yeah, and I think it's great that we covered this in-app tracking topic. And I think, you know, the work that the networks are doing, and also the opportunity there is for the advertisers as well, and also kind of discussing the challenges and also kind of the impacts now with COVID-19 to the industry and the shifts online and stuff that's happening. I think collectively there's some really good points to discuss. So no, thank you again to Clem, Kate, Raki and Irina for talking to us today and answering our questions. And thank you all for attending our session this morning. So I hope you got some valuable insight from that and you can take away and discuss that with your peers. So that's good. Just a quick reminder, there will be a recording of this webinar. So we will be publishing this later this week. So for those that missed out, can catch up with the session as well. And yeah, as I said, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you again to our panelists for joining in the discussion. And yeah, we hope to speak with you all soon. So yeah, take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. See you.
Take care.
Bye.